Here's the thing. You've been studying English for months, maybe for years. You know grammar rules. You have vocabulary in your notebook. You can read articles and understand textbooks. But every time you try to speak, something uncomfortable happens. Your sentences come out slow, careful, heavy, almost robotic. You try to remember the grammar, you worry about mistakes, and sometimes, even though you know what you want to say, your mouth refuses to follow. Then you hear native speakers talking, and everything sounds completely different. They are relaxed, fast, natural, emotional, flexible, and you think, why can't I speak like that? If this has ever happened to you, I understand you deeply. And today, I want to guide you through a completely different way of seeing spoken English, one that will finally unlock how to speak English the way native speakers actually do. So welcome to this episode. I want you to feel like we are sitting together, maybe at a cafe, maybe on a walk, just having a real conversation about English. And I want to tell you something that might surprise you. Native speakers do not speak perfect English. They do not speak the English from grammar books. They break rules constantly. They shorten words. They cut endings. They slide sounds together. They use everyday expressions that never appear in school lessons. And they speak with confidence even when their sentences are not perfect. The big difference is not intelligence, not talent, not a special gift. The difference is that natives use spoken English, not textbook English. And today, I want to show you how you can do the same. Let's start with a simple truth. When you learned English in school, you learned English designed for exams, for writing, for controlled situations. It was clean, structured, and careful. But native speakers don't speak that way. They speak in the easiest, fastest, most natural way possible, using sound shortcuts, contractions, reductions, language chunks, and familiar phrases. For example, when a native speaker wants to say, "I don't know," they often don't articulate each word carefully. It becomes, "I don't know." When they say, "What are you doing?" it becomes, "What are you doing?" They don't do this because they're lazy. They do this because spoken language evolves to become efficient and smooth. Humans are always trying to use less energy, and speech follows the same rule. Now think about this. When you speak your native language, do you speak every word perfectly, pronouncing every letter, pausing clearly between words, or do you connect sounds, shorten expressions, and sometimes skip pieces completely? You probably shorten all the time, but you never think about it. It's automatic. That is exactly what native speakers do in English. They are speaking in the fastest, natural way their brain knows. So if you want to speak like a native, you don't need to memorize more grammar rules. You need to start learning how real spoken English works in daily life. And this is where the transformation begins. The first shift is learning to speak in chunks, not in single words. When native speakers talk, they don't think word by word. They think in ready-made expressions like, "How's it going? You know what I mean? I'll let you know. Wait a second. At the end of the day, I've got to go." Speaking in chunks is faster, more natural, and involves far less mental effort. A learner who thinks word by word has a slow and tiring speaking process, like walking one brick at a time. But a learner who uses chunks moves smoothly because the brain is recalling whole packages of meaning at once. If you train yourself to speak in phrases instead of isolated vocabulary, your speaking will become more automatic, emotional, and natural. The second shift is embracing the natural sound transformations in spoken English. Love them or hate them, they exist, and they are not going away. Natives connect words because it is faster and easier to say. So, pick it up becomes pick it up. Sound of it becomes sound of it. Give me becomes gimme. And going to becomes gonna. When you start using natural sound patterns, two things happen. One, native speakers will understand you more easily because they are used to hearing English in that style. Two, your speech becomes faster and less mechanical without extra effort. You begin to sound like someone who actually lives inside the language instead of someone trying to translate from their head.
And this brings me to the third shift, confidence. Many learners want to sound like natives, but they sabotage themselves with fear. They worry about mistakes, about judgment, about sounding strange. But let me tell you something important. Native speakers make mistakes all the time, yet they keep talking confidently. They mix tenses, skip words, start sentences and never finish them, change direction mid-sentence, and still nobody cares. Why? Because communication matters more than perfection. The reason natives sound natural is not because they never make mistakes, it's because they don't let mistakes control them. And to speak like them, you must learn to accept imperfection while speaking. Language grows through use, not through fear. Now, imagine this. For 30 days, you decide that instead of rehearsing grammar rules, you will focus on speaking like a native by doing 3 simple things every day. You listen to real English and repeat out loud, not carefully, but naturally, imitating tone, rhythm, and sound flow. You practice speaking in chunks instead of words, and you stop worrying about sounding perfect. Day after day, something starts to shift. Your mouth adapts. Your tongue becomes familiar with new sound patterns. Your speaking speed increases. And suddenly, you start sounding like someone who belongs inside the English language, not someone visiting from outside. Let me give you a simple example. Instead of saying, "I will go to the store," a native might say, "I'll go to the store," or "I'll go to the store," or even "I'll go to the store." If you learn the textbook version only, you sound formal and unnatural. If you learn the natural flow, you speak with confidence and ease. Another example. Instead of saying, "I am going to see what he is doing," a native might say, "I'm going to see what he's doing." If your brain expects perfect pronunciation, native English feels impossible. But if you train with real spoken English, suddenly everything makes sense. And here's something powerful. The more you speak English the way it is naturally spoken, the more fluent you become, because the brain works more efficiently when it uses language the way it was designed. Fluency does not come from knowing more grammar. Fluency comes from speaking without translating. And speaking without translating comes from using English in its natural spoken form. I want to talk to you personally now. Maybe you have been learning English for years and still feel stuck speaking slowly. Maybe you avoid conversations because you feel like your English disappears when you try to talk. Or maybe you speak, but you feel like you sound artificial, rigid, or not like a native. I want you to know something. There is nothing wrong with you. You simply learned formal English before natural English. You were trained for exams, not for conversation. And now it is time to reverse that. Think about the moment you started speaking your native language as a child. At that time, you were not studying grammar. You were listening, copying, repeating, experimenting, failing, and trying again. That process built real fluency, and English works the same way. If you want to speak naturally, you must practice speaking in real conditions using real spoken patterns, trusting your instincts, and letting your mouth learn through repetition. So, as we reach the end of this episode, I want to leave you with a motivational message. You can speak English the way native speakers do. You can sound natural, confident, expressive, and fluid. You don't need 10 more grammar books. You don't need 5,000 advanced vocabulary words. What you need is exposure, imitation, and practice. Listen to how natives speak. Repeat out loud. Copy their rhythm. Copy their reductions. Copy their speech flow. Do this every day, even for just a few minutes, and your English will transform faster than you imagine. And here is your challenge. Starting today, choose one moment in your day when you will practice speaking like a native, even if just for 5 minutes. Watch a scene from a movie and repeat. Listen to a podcast and imitate. Pause a YouTube video and say the line exactly as the narrator said it. Do this consistently, and your English will transform. If you want more episodes like this, more training in real spoken English, more guidance on natural pronunciation, more insights into how native speech actually works, then follow the channel, subscribe, and comment your goal for this month. Let's grow together. Let's make your speaking feel natural, automatic, and real. You have everything you need. Now it's time to unlock it.